This is Emerge by Desola, where clarity meets courage, where purpose meets power. Every episode is about rebuilding your business, your mindset, your faith, and your story. So take a deep breath, lean in, and let's rebuild together. My name is Adesola Oladumoye. Hello there, Emerge Tribe. Welcome back to Emerge by Desola, a space where we rebuild with clarity, purpose, and vision. I'm your host today, Desola, and today's episode is Rebuild from Within. You know, this is an heartfelt conversation for every woman who has ever looked at the pieces of her life, her dreams, or even her business and whispers, how do I begin again? How do I start again? How do I rise again? How do I move from where I am, feeling stuck, to where God wants me to be? And we're going to be looking at restructuring, rebuilding through, number one, your mindset, number two, through faith, number three, through focus, and number four, by taking bold strategic moves. So please sit back, take a deep breath, take a notebook, and take notes with me as we start from mindset. You know, what is mindset? Mindset is when, mindset comes to, me, that what is in my mind. How do I rebuild, with a shift? How do I go from, why me to what can this teach me? That survival mentality to strategy. How do I go from Desola, I'm stuck, why does it feel that things are not working, to what can I do to move from here? What can this situation change me? Living that, living that guilt stage, choosing growth every day. What can I do? What are the next steps to take? You are taking small steps. Today, I'm changing my mindset by moving from I can't do to I can do. Now, and begin to seek knowledge and say, how can I, for example, you're in business, how can I grow my business from 30,000 to 50,000 to 100,000? What is that gap that I need to fill? What is that knowledge gap that I need to fill? It takes you from guilt to growth. And the next thing that we're going to be looking at as you move from your mindset is trusting in the timing. For me, faith is very important to me. And rebuilding takes trust, to be honest. And not just trust in God's timing, but in his not just trust in God's plan, but in his timing. For me, my rebuilding journey is deeply personal, because if looking at my journey, it started from age 39. So if you are here, you're looking at this, I'm 39, I'm 40, I'm even 50, I'm 60. It's not too late. The first step is changing your mindset. The second step is faith, trusting in God's timing, trusting in your process, trusting in your journey, and moving from the moments of it's why me to why not me. Why not me? I'm 1,000 times more. I'm 1,000 times better. I have all that I need to grow from point A to point B. And let me tell you, it won't be easy. There will be moments where you feel, there are some moments where I felt left behind. My mates had gone before me. My mates were running institutions. But the comparison is the enemy's way of stealing your joy. Your story is just not done. Your story is just unfolding. And with the help of God, you also will emerge. Faith is realignment. It brings your heart back to peace. Trusting that, even in my journey, even while I'm rebuilding, I still trust. I still trust. And if you're in that space right now, I want you to know that you're not behind. You are being rebuilt layer by layer, season by season. And we're going to be looking also at focus. You have moved from mindset to faith. How do I stay focused? How do I quiet the noise as I rebuild? How do I quiet the comparison? How do I shut it down? Because the pressure would come. It came for me. When I went back to school, it felt like, I got into a firm, and it felt the people, and I was meeting people that were younger, far younger. I was 39, I was meeting 25, 24, the Gen Zs. And they were doing so well. They were doing so good. They were so confident. They had this, they knew what they wanted, and they were going through it. They had the confidence to speak their mind. And this was me, that I wasn't sure, of what God's purpose was in bringing me here, taking me out of my business and bringing me here. But I learned structure. I learned empathy. I learned working with people. I learned networking. And for me, that was a growth for me. It was trusting in God's timing that God was not yet done with me. It was trusting in God's timing that I was growing, I was rebuilding, and there was a story that was unfolding that I was not done. So you're listening to me and you're saying, this, well, I'm stuck here. I've gone from mindset to faith, and I'm saying focus. Focus on the rebuild. Focus on the journey. Focus on the strength. Focus on what God is saying to you. Focus on how God is building you. And now finally, the next is to take bold strategic moves. You have come from changing your mindset, to trusting in God's timing and focusing on the things that God is building you through. And now, like I said, and let's be real, rebuilding isn't passive. It takes bold moves. It takes strategy. It takes a roadmap to say, I want to move from point A to point B. I have grown. My journey have evolved. Now I have emerged. Now it's beginning to take thrones and take platforms. Now you need a strategy. Now you need a roadmap on how you are going to move, through the things that God has said. And one of the first things I want to do to also tell you is that create small steps, create big shifts, and begin to take those steps. Start saying yes to your next chapter. And I want you to remember, as you rebuild, grace still meets you in the middle. Even in the messy middle, where you are figuring it out, grace whispers, you are becoming. You are not too late. You are not broken. You are not far gone to rebuild. God is still in that story. That you don't need permission to start again. You don't need permission to heal. Just do what God has called you to do. And I want you to ask yourself, what is God inviting me to rebuild? And am I ready to give myself the grace to begin again? Because you are not starting from scratch, you are starting from strength. Thank you for watching. Rebuilding in itself is not an act of failure. It is actually a proof of faith. To rebuild with God takes strength, takes power. And so wherever it is that you are right now, take that small step right now. Don't stop emerging with grace, with power, and unshakable faith. My name is Adesola Onladumoye. Until next time, see you.